This episode of Simple Civics Greenville County is brought to you by Dolly Parton's Imagination Library, providing free books to children 0 to 5 throughout Greenville County. To sign up, visit greenvillefirststeps.org/freebooks. That's greenvillefirststeps.org/freebooks.
Did you know that Greenville County Schools is the 43rd largest school district in the country? That it provides 85,000 healthy meals to students every single day? That students earned more than $168 million in scholarship offers in 2024? I'm Catherine Schumacher with Public Education Partners, and on today's Simple Civics EdTalks, Derek Lewis of Greenville First Steps and I dig into some of our favorite facts and figures about Greenville County Schools to help you understand why our public school district is such a unique and powerful engine in our civic life. Well, hi, Derek.
Hi, Catherine.
I'm excited. So, Derek, we are partners on Simple Civics EdTalks, and this is the first time we've gotten to sit down and have a conversation together about setting the foundation for our conversations about Greenville County Schools and what public education looks like here in Greenville as part of this podcast. So it's fun. I'm glad you're here.
I am thrilled that we can look at what's happening in the district and how it's affecting families and talk about that.
One of the goals that we both share is lifting up the positive that's happening, because we know because we're in it every single day how much really good and interesting stuff is being done to support our students. And we just want everybody else to be as informed as we are. So this is a great opportunity to start that conversation. And what we wanted to do today was just share some of the facts and figures and numbers behind Greenville County Schools, because we both agree, and I think anyone who is a knowledgeable student of this district and the work that's done here, Greenville County Schools is a really unusual district in terms of its size and the scale of its operations and the scope of what it offers families and students. And so we wanted to have a minute to just sort of level set that so folks really can know some of these numbers, which are kind of eye-popping, and I think explain why we have so much, the pros and the cons of having a big unified school district. And I think both of us agree that the pros definitely outweigh the cons. And so happy to talk about that today.
I'll go first. I've got a number 12. So 12 is the number of school board members for this district.
Which is appropriate for you to talk about since you are a recovering school board member yourself.
Yes, those days are definitely further behind me than they are ahead of me. I think that it is incredible to me that a district this size has 12 elected representatives that manage it. When you look at counties next to us, where there might be 6 or 7 school districts, each with 12, so they've got like 50 or 60 people managing it. And it's just really incredible to me that 12 people with single-member districts, which I will say was the one thing that shocked me about public service the most, was people that didn't understand that I was not their school board member if they live in Travelers Rest. That there are 12, carved out pieces of property that are our areas, but that they're nonpartisan seats. So these are not people who win primaries. They are people who sign up to be in a general election. They are able to just decide to run for the school board. They don't have to have like a huge movement behind them. And some of our most successful school board members were people who just woke up in the middle of some issue and said, I care a lot about booster clubs, and therefore I'm going to run for the school board and I'm going to do something about that issue. And I just think it's a really remarkable thing. And so we have 6 school board members that are elected every 2 years, 2 4-year terms. So we had 6. We had a new one come on in 2024, and in 2026 there'll be 6 seats that will be up. So it's a really exciting time.
We will work to interview every single candidate for Greenville County School Board right here on Simple Civics. So pay attention next fall when that starts rolling out.
All right, Catherine, what's your number?
So mine are just the numbers and the size. So 78,000 students, 12,000 employees, 6,000 teachers. There are 105 facilities and buildings that the district is responsible for. One of the things that we think about is that the size of the district, and I think it's 800 square miles or something like that. But one of my very favorite facts is the bus routes, and Dr. Royster talks about this every time. He says that if you take all of the bus routes that are driven around Greenville County Schools every day, it would go around the equator every day, which is really extraordinary. And
just Greenville County,
just Greenville County, just school buses. So thinking about that sort of size and scale, we're the 43rd largest district in the United States, which is kind of crazy when you think about South Carolina as a relatively small state. Obviously, we're the largest district in South Carolina. We're about a tenth of the public schools, of public school students in the state. So we're a microcosm in a lot of ways. I think that's another interesting thing about Greenville is that we have urban districts, rural districts, and suburban districts. So we have all of the things, all of the challenges and opportunities. We see that right here in Greenville. And then, the other thing, speaking to the school board and the heavy responsibility that they bear in terms of oversight and governance, Greenville County Schools has basically a $1 billion budget between operations and capital, the capital budget. Those are two separate budgets that are funded a little differently, and we'll be digging into that too. So that's something we're going to spend some time talking about, is helping to explain how schools are funded. It is a huge employer here in Greenville. It's second or third biggest employer behind, I think, the hospital systems and things like that. So just the impact of that is really something. And that's why we feel, you and I feel, and champions of public education feel that it's important, again, for people to pay attention. It is a large engine in our community.
That 78,000 number is really shocking to me when you think about it. It is a tenth of the state, but it's also twice as big as the next largest school district. And then you start thinking about like those teeny tiny districts that are all like 2,000.
They have one school. They have one elementary school, one middle school, and one high school, and that's it.
We are essentially the size of 20 or 30 school districts, all as one big thing, which is really incredible.
Yeah, which is also why, from an advocacy standpoint, to understand that helps explain why the thing that you think is the right solution may not be the right solution, because you really do. It's such a large and diverse place and serving such a large and diverse constituency of students. So let's talk about our students and kind of what they look like. So you particularly are interested in early childhood education. So we've had some conversations about that. What is early childhood? Like, how many kiddos are we serving through early childhood here in Greenville County Schools?
We've got 1,800 kids in Greenville County School 4K, which if you combine that with the number of kids who are in First Steps 4K and in Head Start, is more 4-year-olds than we have who will be eligible for free and reduced lunch next year. So when you think about kind of, are we serving the most at-risk families between the 1,800 the school district does, which is 1,760 more than the state requires them to do.
See, I didn't realize that not everybody has to serve 4K classrooms.
You just have to offer one 4K classroom per district. It's an incredible number of kids who are getting services that are preparing them for kindergarten. And then you've got preschool special ed, which are services that are now being expanded across the district for 3-year-olds. So we can kind of give them an extra year to catch up.
We at Public Education Partners, of course, are focused in particular on, how can we support students, families, schools that are coming into the district and classrooms sort of facing barriers. And so we talk a lot about, students coming from households in poverty. And more than half of the students in Greenville County Schools live in poverty. So the most current number I have is about 56%. So that's something that I think is really interesting to think about. And in order to have a number like that, and this is important for listeners to realize as well, every single school in the district has students and families that are facing those kinds of challenges: housing insecurity, food insecurity. 23% of our students are multilingual learners. And that number has grown significantly, as has the number of home languages spoken, which I think is currently at 79. Which, if you're thinking about how do you service students, how do you communicate with those students, how do you communicate with their families, that I'd be really curious to know, and I'll have to find out how quickly that has grown, because it's really changing in who is coming here and how they're getting here and where they're coming from, and the kinds of languages that are spoken in different communities all over the world, and regional dialects and things, unwritten languages that aren't written and are just spoken. So the district having to figure out, because remember, the thing about public schools serve all children, which is the beauty of our public school system. It is built into our South Carolina Constitution. It is built into our state constitutions across the country. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things about public school, is that it exists to serve all kiddos and meet them where they are. Thinking through how do we reach those students is a really important challenge that the district is continuously improving on and figuring out how can we invest more in it. Special education, another great example. Almost 16% of our students are students with disabilities. The district just this year in the budget approved more special ed support. We've had a lot of conversations about how can we do a better job with special ed students.
Which is really, again, like, just think about numbers, like 78,000 kids and 16% of them are receiving some sort of special ed service. I mean, we're talking about thousands of kids.
Thousands of children
who are receiving extra services in addition to the services they're being provided in the classroom in order to ensure that we can catch them up and move them forward.
We just had a conversation with folks talking about Graduation Plus, which is, of course, the district's initiative to have all students graduate not just with a diploma, but also with either college credit or some sort of certification, workforce certification. Another growing area. 10 years ago, we started, I think, with about 600 certifications from the class of 17. And I think class of 24, there were 12,000 certifications offered. So that's another example of a big district having big impact because of resources.
That's what to me is exciting is a district this size can offer the Fine Arts Center.
One of my very favorite places.
Yeah. And a district this size can offer a career center that specializes in mechatronics or one that specializes in culinary arts. So that, we're not thinking of career centers as just where we learn to fix cars and do woodworking. Like we're learning careers that you can literally walk across a stage and be an ambulance driver the next day.
Or be ready for a career that we don't even know what it is yet. And they're learning how to learn.
It's really just so exciting. And that would not be available in a district with 3,000 students.
Right.
Because you could not diversify what you're offering. The fact that 14% of our kids go to a school other than the one they're zoned for is really incredible to me. They're either magneting somewhere, which means the district is also transporting them. The district will transport you from where you live to where you would like to go with their space.
Yeah. No, I think that sort of constant, there are challenges there, right? We know we don't have enough bus drivers. Sometimes those routes take a really long time. I think as a community, one of the things that we can keep in mind as we're thinking about how are we investing in our public schools is viewing those kinds of expenses, a lot of which aren't provided by the state. The state provides some funding, but we do provide local funding for our schools. And a lot of times we're trying to focus on those difference makers, programs that are real difference makers for our students and our local economy to that point. So I think realizing that the school system is not just this far off thing that only matters to people who have kids in the schools is something that we're really interested in talking about in this podcast and just generally in the community.
Yeah, I mean, it matters to me that we have HVAC technician programs in our schools so that Corley or some of the others can hire somebody.
Yep. Our air conditioning went out a couple of weeks ago, and we had this amazing young man come in, and turns out that he had gone to Hillcrest, and then he went to Greenville Tech, and he had been working there for 6 years. Perfect example. That is work that AI can't replace. And I think we're doing a really good job here in Greenville of thinking about those, not just the kind of career and technical careers that you can have now, but again, what is next? The Career and Technical, the CTE Innovation Center. It's aerospace technology, clean energy technology, automation and robotics, networking and cybersecurity, and emerging automotive research, which particularly here, obviously in the upstate, perfect example of how Greenville talked to industry and said, what do you all need and how can we test stuff and then roll it out? And again, that Innovation Center, another perfect example of a facility that is unlike any other facility in the state. And I think we should all as a community be really, really proud of it.
It is kind of cool to think about like the Innovation Center. And then, just down the street from it is the Fine Arts Center. At one point, there were more kids accepted to Juilliard from our Fine Arts Center than from any high school in the state, which is just really incredible.
Well, the Fine Arts Center, again, I'm biased. My son graduated from FAC a couple of years ago. It's an extraordinary place. A lot of that has to do with the teachers who are in there. I want to talk about teachers a little bit. Greenville's also made, we have 6,000 teachers in our classrooms, and we have committed, again, local funds. We've had conversations about school funding, making sure that we are giving our teachers the wages they deserve. And so we've made a real investment in having, we were the first district in the state to have a starting salary above $50,000. And so we're continuing to try and make that local investment. So that's something, again, we'll be talking about more as sort of the details of what that looks like and how we get there.
It's really amazing to me to think that, 15 years ago, I think we were 25th in the state in what we were paying our teachers. We will always be in the kind of top 5 now because there are other districts that have some access to resources that even we don't have. But, that intentionality among the administration to say, like, if we're going to attract and retain teachers, then we can't just rely on the quality of life of Greenville County to attract them. We need to pay them the livable wage.
Right. And, I think, again, biased, I think having an organization like Public Education Partners that is sort of trying to champion and cheer on teachers all the time is really important. And that's another benefit of having, again, a large district that's sort of different from all the others. What is another one of your favorite things? Do you have something else in particular that you want people to make sure that they know about?
I think the last one I would say is I am amazed at how well our students do on standardized tests. And so, we hear a lot about, South Carolina is the bottom of the country and South Carolina, kids can't do as well as others. But we are outperforming the average student in Greenville County is outperforming the national average on the ACT and on the SAT every year for the last 10 years. And to me, that says a lot about where we're getting them from, and then how far we're moving them in 12 or 13 years is just really remarkable.
Yeah, and it matters for businesses that are looking to come here. Both of us are South Carolina natives, right? We grew up here, went to school here. And so I'm a proud graduate of South Carolina's public schools. One of the reasons I love talking about public education is because I love dispelling those myths about what does public education look like in South Carolina and how can we change that narrative? Because I agree. I mean, I think that is really extraordinary, and that we're getting those students ready to compete at those higher levels, whether it's, on stage from the Fine Arts Center or taking the ACT to look at college or getting ready to do an incredible certification program that's going to get them a high-paying job when they, get out of one of our career centers. We love talking about public school. We're such nerds. It's great. I love it. And I'm excited to have more conversations over the coming months as we unpack some things that we know people don't quite get, dispelling those myths, helping make it easy for folks to understand, again, some complex issues. I've been in this seat for almost 6 years now, and I'm finally just feeling like I have a sense of how this kind of works. But as we kind of kick off the school year, I think it's a great way to set the stage for Simple Civics EdTalks and the conversations that we're going to have.
Let's do it.
Simple Civics EdTalks is a joint project of Greater Good Greenville, Greenville First Steps, and Public Education Partners Greenville County.
Hi, Simple Civics Greenville County listeners, Nathaniel here. If you've made it this far, then we think you'll really love our newsletter. Sign up for bonus content, updates, and more right in your inbox. Look for the link in the description that says newsletter to sign up, or visit us at simpleCivicsGreenvilleCounty.org. Find the link in the menu that says newsletter and sign up there. We'll see you again next week.